To understand the Pacific Northwest is to understand its waters, and there's nothing more influential to the Pacific Northwest waterways than its dams. So let's explore the dams of the Pacific Northwest, starting with the most important river of them all, the Columbia. The lower Columbia River forms the border between Washington and Oregon. Starting at the mouth of the river at Astoria, we actually travel 140 miles upstream before we encounter the first dam. The reason why is pretty straightforward. The lower reaches of the Columbia are extremely easy to navigate. Boats and ships have been able to sail up and down these waters for hundreds of years. But where the Cascade Mountains crosses the river, we come to our first major obstacle. The infamous Cascade Rapids, which were formed by a landslide between 500 and 1,000 years ago, when a huge amount of this hillside broke loose and slid across the river. This narrow channel quickly got eroded back by the river, but was naturally too rocky for most ships. This first blockage to navigation is the reason why we have our first dam on the Columbia, Bonneville. Bonneville Dam was completed in 1938 and was one of the first major New Deal projects in the Pacific Northwest. The original dam consisted of two structures straddling Bradford Island. The main channel with its 18-gate spillway, and the smaller channel with a power station. The original dam also included an all-important navigation lock to lift ships up into the lake and over Cascade Rapids. The dam was also built from day one with state-of-the-art fish passage facilities. These fish ladders have facilitated upstream migration since day one. And literally every single adult fish that has ever passed by this dam has been counted. And because Bonneville is the lowest dam on the Columbia River, we know exactly how many adult salmon have ever migrated upstream to their spawning habitat across thousands of miles of tributaries. It's worth pointing out that Bonneville is the shortest of all the dams on the U.S. portion of the Columbia River. It has enough height to raise the water up over the rapids, but not enough to create any real storage capacity. Which means that this dam counts as a run-of-the-river dam, or a dam that just passes the flow of the river straight down. Here's a picture of the dam during the legendary flood of 1948. Yes, the same flood that destroyed the Portland suburb of Vanport. If you look carefully, there's not a lot of difference between the water downstream and upstream. To take advantage of all this untapped energy potential, a second power plant was built in 1982. The original shoreline was right here. The town of North Bonneville actually used to be in this spot here. And they literally just dug a new channel. With the addition of the second power plant, Bonneville now has a peak capacity of 1,200 megawatts, enough to power around 1 million homes. The completion of Bonneville Dam signaled a new era in the Pacific Northwest. For the first time, federal money was being invested in infrastructure along the river, which had the potential to completely change the flow of goods and services around the region. It also led to the creation of what we now call the Bonneville Power Administration, a federal agency that facilitates the production and sale of energy all over the Pacific Northwest. The waters behind Bonneville Dam stretch up past Cascade Locks and the Bridge of the Gods, past the communities of White Salmon and Hood River, to the east side of the Cascades to the community of the Dalles. Which brings us to our next stop,